dirt, cold, wet. The sound of shovels biting into the ground sliced through the night like a whisper of death. The moon hung low, half hidden behind gray clouds, casting a pale light over the deserted woods. A woman's muffled cries broke the silence. "Daniel, please," she gasped, her voice trembling. "Please, don't do this." But the man standing over her didn't stop. His hands shook as he gripped the shovel, digging faster, harder. Sweat mixed with the drizzle running down his face. "Don't make this harder than it already is," he muttered, not meeting her eyes. "Harder?" Grace's voice cracked. She tried to move, but her wrists were tied. Her swollen belly pressed painfully against the dirt beneath her. "Daniel, I'm carrying your child." He flinched. Just for a second, the name, her voice, almost shattered something inside him. But then he froze, eyes distant, like a man being controlled by something darker than fear. "You think I want this?" he whispered. "You think I have a choice?" "Daniel, please." Her voice broke into sobs. "We can fix this. Whatever it is, we can fix it." He stopped digging. For a moment, only the sound of rain filled the night. Then his voice came, soft but sharp like glass. "It's too late, Grace. I told you not to look into things that don't concern you." Before she could speak, he threw the shovel aside and dropped to his knees beside her. His hands were trembling as he brushed her hair from her face. "I loved you," he said almost tenderly. "You know that, right?" Grace shook her head violently. "Then don't do this, Daniel, don't." He looked away. "I can't let them get to me. You wouldn't understand." She screamed when he grabbed a handful of dirt and began covering her legs. The cold earth pressed against her skin, heavy and suffocating. She struggled, thrashing, crying his name. But he kept going, silent, focused, haunted. Then headlights flashed in the distance, a car engine. Daniel froze, panic flooding his face. He looked toward the road, then back at Grace. "Stay quiet," he hissed. "Don't make a sound." Grace gasped for air. Her heart pounded like it was trying to tear through her chest. "Daniel, someone's coming. Please, please, untie me." But he didn't. He grabbed the shovel, wiped his hands on his jeans, and darted into the shadows. Within seconds, he disappeared into the woods, leaving Grace, half buried in the shallow grave, shivering, her sobs lost in the rain. The engine sound faded, the light vanished, and Grace was alone, with the child still inside her and the unbearable question echoing in her head. Why is he doing this? 3 days earlier, she thought she had the perfect marriage. Grace Parker had always believed that love could fix anything. She was the kind of woman people described as soft-hearted, a listener, a dreamer. Her life with Daniel had started like a fairy tale, candlelit. Dinners, love notes, laughter that never seemed to end. They met at a charity event 6 years ago, fell in love in a heartbeat, and within a year they were married. Daniel was charming, confident, and gentle, or at least he used to be. But lately, something in him had changed. He'd stopped laughing. He came home late, smelling of whiskey and smoke, and there was a distance in his eyes she couldn't cross anymore. Grace had asked him over and over what was wrong, but he always smiled and said, "Just work, baby. You know how it gets." Except she didn't know. One night while he was in the shower, she saw a message flash across his phone. "We need that money by Friday. No more excuses." The sender's name was Victor. At first she wanted to believe it was business, but then she started noticing the calls, always private numbers, the sudden trips, the short temper, the way he flinched whenever she mentioned their baby. She was 6 months pregnant, and every time she touched her belly, she prayed her child wouldn't inherit whatever darkness had taken over his father. The next evening, Daniel came home unusually early, with flowers, roses, her favorite. He smiled that same easy smile that once melted her heart. "You're glowing," he said, kissing her forehead. "I thought we could get away for the weekend. Just us. No phones, no work. You've been stressing too much." Grace hesitated. "Now? Daniel, what about the doctor's appointment Monday?" He waved it off. We'll be back before then. I already packed the bags. She looked into his eyes, searching for the man she fell in love with. For a second, she thought she saw him, the warmth, the tenderness. She wanted to believe it, so she nodded. Okay, she said softly. Just us. That night, as she packed her clothes, her best friend, Nicole, dropped by. Nicole was everything Grace wasn't. Bold, fiery, single. They'd been friends since college, inseparable. More like sisters than friends. You're really going away with him? Nicole asked, leaning on the doorframe, her tone half joking, half serious. Grace smiled faintly. Yeah, he says he wants to reconnect. Nicole raised an eyebrow. After the way he's been acting lately? Girl, if my man started sneaking around, I wouldn't be driving off to some quiet cabin. Grace laughed nervously. You worry too much. I just don't want you getting hurt, Nicole said. She took Grace's hands. Promise me you'll call if anything feels off. Grace nodded. I promise. If only she'd kept that promise. The next morning, they drove for hours. The sky was clear, the music soft, and for the first time in weeks, Daniel seemed relaxed. He even reached over to hold her hand. I missed us, he said quietly. Grace smiled. I missed us too. But somewhere deep down, unease lingered. After a while, she noticed he kept checking the rearview mirror. His grip on the wheel was too tight. Are we lost? She asked. He shook his head. Just making sure no one's following us. She frowned. Who would follow us? He didn't answer. When they finally pulled off the main road, Grace saw no cabin, just trees, and a narrow dirt path winding into the woods. Daniel, she said carefully. Where are we? He forced a smile. Shortcut, trust me. But as they drove deeper, the forest swallowed the sunlight and silence grew thick between them. Grace's heart started racing. Something about the air felt wrong, like the world was holding its breath. Then her head grew heavy, her eyelids fluttered. Daniel, she whispered weakly. I feel dizzy. He didn't look at her. You need to rest, he said flatly. Her vision blurred. The last thing she saw was Daniel's cold eyes staring straight ahead, the road vanishing into darkness. When Grace woke up, everything was silent, the kind of silence that screamed danger. Her head throbbed, her throat felt dry, and the taste of metal filled her mouth. The air was cold and damp, and when she tried to move, her hands wouldn't obey. Her wrists were tied. Her heart slammed against her ribs. Daniel? She whispered, her voice cracking. No answer. The car was gone. She was lying on the ground, surrounded by trees. The smell of wet soil filled her nostrils, and her body ached like she'd been dragged. She blinked, trying to remember what happened. The last thing she recalled was the road, Daniel's voice, then nothing. Daniel, she called again, louder this time. Where are you? From somewhere close, twigs snapped. A dark figure emerged from behind the trees. Daniel. His clothes were muddy, his hair wet from rain, his face pale and hollow. In his hands, he held a shovel. Grace froze. Daniel, what's going on? He looked at her for a long moment. Then quietly he said, You shouldn't have seen those messages. What messages? She asked, not trembling. You went through my phone, didn't you? His voice rose suddenly. You weren't supposed to know about Victor, about the money. You just couldn't leave it alone. Grace's eyes widened. Daniel, I didn't... He slammed the shovel into the ground beside her, making her flinch. You think I wanted this? You think I chose this life? Tears welled in her eyes. Then talk to me, Daniel. Please, we can find a way out. There's no way out, he shouted, his voice breaking. You don't understand, Grace. They'll kill me. They said if I don't deliver what I owe, they'll come for us both. I can't let that happen. Then let's go to the police, she cried. We'll explain. He shook his head violently. You don't get it. They're watching. They know where we live. Victor has eyes everywhere. The only way to make it stop is... His voice trailed off. His eyes went distant again. Grace whispered, Daniel. What? are you saying?" He looked down at her, and for a second, his face softened, guilt flickering like a dying flame. "You have no idea what it's like to live in fear every second," he said. "I can't protect you, but I can end this before they do." Before Grace could respond, he pulled a small bottle from his pocket, clear liquid inside. "I didn't want it to hurt," he murmured. Grace's stomach twisted. "What is that?" He knelt beside her, voice shaking. "Just sleep, baby. You won't feel a thing." Panic exploded inside her. "Daniel, please, don't. Think about our baby." But his eyes were cold now, empty. She struggled, thrashing against the ropes. "Daniel, please, I'm begging you." "Stop," he shouted, grabbing her shoulders. "You think I don't love you? You think I want this?" His voice cracked as tears mixed with rain. "I'm doing this for us." "No," she sobbed. "You're doing this for yourself." That stopped him. For a brief, fragile moment, silence hung between them, until the bottle slipped from his fingers. It shattered against a rock, the scent of chemicals filling the air. Grace kicked her legs, screaming for help, but there was no one. Only trees. Only rain. Daniel's hands trembled as he reached for the shovel again. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I have to make it look like you disappeared. They'll believe you ran away. They'll stop looking." Her pulse roared in her ears. "Daniel, you're scaring me. Please, listen to me. You don't have to." He swung the shovel, hitting the ground beside her, throwing dirt into the air. Each shovel of soil landed heavier than the last, like the world was collapsing on top of her. Grace screamed his name, kicking, crying, coughing through the dust. "You're killing us," she cried. "You're killing your family." But Daniel didn't stop. Rain poured harder, soaking them both. The sound of thunder echoed like a drumbeat of fate. He was crying now, too, muttering to himself. "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." And then something snapped. Grace's wrist slipped free from the rope. She didn't think, didn't plan. Instinct took over. She grabbed a handful of mud and flung it at his face. Daniel stumbled back, cursing. She pushed herself up, gasping for air, stumbling to her feet. Her belly ached. The baby kicked as if sensing her terror. She ran barefoot through the forest. Branches scratched her skin. Her breath came in ragged bursts. Behind her, Daniel shouted, "Grace, come back." She didn't look back. The rain blurred everything. The forest seemed endless, twisting and closing in. She tripped, fell, crawled, and kept running. She saw lights in the distance, dim but real. Maybe a road, maybe a house. She pushed harder, but her legs were weak. She stumbled again, landing hard on her knees. Behind her, she heard footsteps, closer, louder. Daniel's voice cut through the storm. "You can't run from this." Grace turned, tears mixing with rain. "I trusted you," she screamed. "I loved you." His face was ghostly pale. "You were never supposed to find out." "Find out what?" she spat. "That your debt is worth more than your wife and child?" He froze, guilt flickering again, but then his expression hardened. "You wouldn't understand. They made me do it." Grace's chest heaved. "Who, Daniel, who made you?" He opened his mouth and stopped. Because from behind the trees, headlights appeared. A car. Daniel's eyes widened. He stepped back, whispering, "No, no, no." The light hit both of them. Grace shielded her face. Daniel turned and ran. The car stopped, and a man's voice called out, "Hey, are you okay?" Grace collapsed, shaking uncontrollably. The driver rushed to her, shouting for help into his phone. "There's a woman out here, pregnant. She's hurt." By the time Grace looked up, Daniel was gone. She was safe for now. But as the sirens wailed in the distance and the driver wrapped his jacket around her shoulders, she whispered to herself, "He didn't act alone. Someone wanted this." Her eyes darted toward the shadows of the trees where another figure had been watching all along. A figure with calm, curious eyes. A woman. She turned away before the headlights reached her face, disappearing into the night. Grace never saw her, but the faintest smirk curved the woman's lips as she whispered, "Finally." And just like that, the rain swallowed every trace of her. Grace stared into the forest where both Daniel and the mysterious woman had disappeared, her hand pressed against her belly, feeling her child's kick. But that wasn't the whole truth, and Grace had the terrible feeling that this nightmare was only beginning. Don't miss out on episode 2, because what happens next will shock you. Who was that woman? What does she want with Grace? And is Daniel really working alone, or is someone else pulling the strings? Don't miss episode 2, where the truth behind Victor's casino, Daniel's debt, and the mysterious woman's identity will leave you speechless. Like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss what happens next. Trust me, you'll want to see this.